Apologies for the delay. It's my last council meeting, and what have I done? I forgot my chain. So, Michael had to run across, and yes, I've had a very, very busy afternoon, and so apologies. So, anyone is welcome to record this meeting, provided they do not disturb the conduct of the meeting. More information is available in the agenda. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being filmed and made available to view in live and archive form via the Council's website. If you are seated in the public gallery, it is possible that the cameras may capture your image. If you wish to avoid being filmed, it is recommended you make a member of staff aware, and they will direct you where to sit. The Westgate gates are locked after sunset, and members of the public should leave the Guildhall by the side exit behind the glass door. Should the fire alarm sound, please leave through the nearest safe exit. The assembly point will be outside Café des Amis. So, item 1, agenda item 1, we have apologies from Councillor Bothwell, Councillor Turnbull and Councillor Chris Cornell. Is there anybody else, Pippa? Thank you. So can I invite Councillor Baldock and Councillor Soul, Councillor Carnac and Councillor Harvey to each make a statement that any declarations of interest by members of their respective groups are declared again by any of those members present at this meeting. So, Councillor Baldock.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I can confirm that any declarations of interest made by members of the Labour Group are declared again by those present at this meeting.
Same for the Lib Dem Group.
Same for the Conservative Group.
Same for the Green Group, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. And so I'd like to invite Jan, the legal representative, and she needs to, I don't know if it's an interest, but declare anything. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I make a declaration in relation to item 6B on the agenda, which relates to dismissal of statutory officers' procedure, and that declaration is made on behalf of all the designated statutory officers, i.e. Section 151 officer Nikki Mills, Head of Paid Service Susie Wakeham, Joint Chief Executive Peter Davis, and obviously myself as monitoring officer. All the officers I've named are here this evening, and they have been consulted on the procedure. It's not considered necessary for these officers to leave the room for the debate and vote on this item, so we all will remain in the room. We just want to make that declaration for clarity, for transparency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jan. So the elections, the by-elections, and I just want to welcome the new councillor, Stuart Heaver. Welcome. Thank you. And so can I invite any cabinet members to make any announcements they may have? So I've been informed that Councillor Dixie might have.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I have a couple of announcements. As Leo reported, in the update from the Joint Chief Executives a few days ago, the owners of the former Debenhams store in the city centre have, after a lot of pressure from our offices and a lot of pressure, made the site safe. This means that Kent's highways can now take down the Harris fencing, which has blighted Guildhall Street over the last few months. They haven't taken it down when I last checked this afternoon, but I hope it'll be down before the end of the week. And thank you, Bill Hicks and his team, for all the pressure they brought on Debenhams, the owners of Debenhams, to get that sorted, because it took a lot of pressure from them. And the second one is Kent County Council have just launched their school streets trial at St Peter's Methodist Primary School, which is just a few hundred yards from here. School streets projects restrict vehicle access around schools, drop-off and pick-up times. And it's all about safety to the kids. The trial is running until October next year. Initial feedback from parents and teachers has been very positive. And a big thank you to KCC for organising this trial, and also to Pip and Mel, I think, was involved with it. I'm not sure Alistair was or not, but he's not here to check. And of course I...
He's here.
Hi. No, okay, and of course I was involved. So a great positive step, and I hope it will be repeated in other primary schools in built-up areas around our district in the next couple of years. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dixie. Councillor Mike Sowell?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Not at all linked to Michael's last comment, but I would like to announce that Councillor Lee Castle is replacing Councillor Dixie.
I got in just in time.
As the Lib Dem member in Cabinet. I'd like to take this opportunity, Lord Mayor, to thank Michael for his time in Cabinet. With decades of service on this council spread across 2 different centuries.
Yes.
Thank you.
His council experience and professional experience has been well applied in the last 2 years, particularly with the management of the property portfolio, but also on a wide range of other issues. I know that Michael's going to take a keen interest still on planning enforcement, and he'll now also be joining the planning committee. I welcome Lee to join us in Cabinet. Since being elected, he's shown himself to be hardworking, diligent, and with an eye to detail, and I know he'll be a great asset to Cabinet and indeed to all of Council. And I look forward to working with him in that new role. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. I think a round of applause for Michael Dixie. Thank you. So, Connie?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd also like to say that I was very grateful that the whole of the civic team came to the Kids Street Cricket in Barton Ward. The street cricket is an initiative by the Chance to Shine, which is the outreach of the Kent County Cricket. And it's the first time that it's actually happened, literally down the road to them. And I was so pleased to see that both of you could actually hit a cricket ball, which was pretty good. You've been invited back. But the important thing is that as budgets are constricted around things for children's sport and whatever, it's lovely to see that organisations like Chance to Shine and that are stepping up. And as you saw last night, Lord Mayor, the children there, boys, girls, all ages, were so enthusiastic about playing cricket that they barely paid you any attention at all.
No, it was a great pleasure to be there. So thank you, Connie, for inviting us. I've got to go back to number 3. So there are no petitions or questions from the public for this meeting. And now can I invite the leader, Councillor Baldock, please.
Thank you, Lord. And
Uh,
thank you.
That's better.
Tonight. Last Thursday, Kent residents elected councillors to the Kent County Council. My thanks to all the candidates who stood in the divisions within Canterbury City Council. Congratulations to those elected to office, of which we're privileged to have 5 of them here tonight. Thank you for that, all of you. You're going to do a good job. I'm confident that those of the ruling party will be held to account by those in opposition, and rightly so. So it's over to you, all 5 of you, to do just that. And I expect nothing less. I think we can all agree that broadly we're happy and probably proud to be collectively Canterbury City Council. We understand that we operate in our own way, have our own policies, our own constitution, and much more. We are effective at dealing with the issues that are within our remit. Let's remind ourselves of a fact. On Canterbury City Council matters, we are not subservient to the ruling administration in KCC, and will never be. We will continue with business as usual. The result of the election of KCC changes nothing in the way that we operate. All 39 of us were elected by our residents to speak with them without fear or favour, to represent every one of them fairly and equally, to put aside political opinions and dogma, and act for the person we humbly stand before in the community that we serve. So let's dispel a few myths. We've had those myths aired in the last few days about the councils like ours. So let's remember. We will continue to work to be inclusive and diverse in our recruitment process and be an employer that attracts the right talent. It's our Canterbury, our council, our choice. We are creating a new local plan. We are well advanced in that huge task and have consulted widely, including the Transport Authority. But a local plan is in the end the function of a district council. Our Canterbury City Council, our choice. We will continue to set our own council tax. The party running KCC will set their council tax. Our Canterbury City Council, our choice. We will proudly continue to fly the Union flag every day at the Bastion in Canterbury, on Tankerton Slopes and Herne Bay Pier. And we will fly whatever flags we choose, whenever we want to, on the identified secondary flagpoles across our district. So, the Pride flag will be flown. The Merchant Navy flag will be flown. The Royal British Legion flags, whatever they may be, D-Day and all the rest of them, will be flown, and many, many others over the years. And shame amongst shame, I'm not going to be too proud to play a flag of a visiting dignitary from any other country in the world that gives us the privilege of coming to us on a state visit or a visit. Yes, it's our Canterbury City Council and it's our choice. We have a corporate plan, returning pride to our district. That sets out our ambitions for a greener, fairer, stronger and better district, linked to the framework of UN Sustainable Development Goals. We are proud to think global, act local. Yes, it's our Canterbury City Council, our choice. Every report brought before Canterbury City Council must include a climate change impact assessment and an equalities impact assessment, recognising the possible harm to our environment and the implications for the people that those reports affect. That's good governance, and it's our Canterbury City Council, and it's our choice. We trust our staff who act honestly and with integrity. We also trust them to work hard and put in the hours. That's why we will continue to support the options for time spent working at home. Yes, it's our Canterbury City Council, it's our choice. Our staff are the most important asset this council has. Their commitment is legendary. Their drive and imagination at the heart of achieving what we do with the limited funding and staff that we have. This administration considers you all a team that is proudly diverse in every single way, and each and every one of you is valued and important. In this team, there are no in and out jobs. We are in this together because it's our Canterbury City Council and it's our choice. How the new administration at KCC performs will be for the residents to judge and the politicians to scrutinise. Finally, let's reflect that we have been gifted and privileged by our residents to serve on Canterbury City Council. And we're going to continue to deliver the very best that we can alongside our amazing team of officers and staff. And that will be within the confines of our budget and our remit. In doing that, we will demonstrate selflessness, act with integrity, be objective and always be accountable. Ensure openness, honesty and show leadership and commitment. And perhaps some parties should remember those Nolan principles too. We will not sow the seeds of division or hatred in our wards, in our words, in our actions. We will not turn residents against each other in a race to the bottom, nor promise them what we cannot deliver. Irresponsible choices like those heard in the last few days will further undermine the trust the council needs to create the space for them to step into to solve the problems that those people have. But finally, and most importantly, that mistrust strips away the indignity the very hope that those people hold. And it's hope that we offer our residents, and that is the most important gift that we can ever give them. So this administration and council choose hope over hate and offer respect and tolerance for those that do us the honour of sharing our towns, villages and city. The city that we represent here tonight. It's our future, it's our Canterbury, it's our Canterbury City Council and it's our choice.
Thank you, Alan, for that inspiring speech. And it's just every word you said. I think the councillors here stood and applauded you, and we will go forward. So onwards and upwards. Can I ask the Joint Chief Executives, do you have any announcements?
None, thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. So, oh, it's all happening tonight. There have been no recommendations to full council from Cabinet made since the last meeting. So item 6, recommendation from Governance Committee, 2nd of April 2025, minute number 720, concerning East Kent Joint Independent Remuneration Panel. Request to join from Folkestone and Hythe District Council. we have the recommendations from the Governance Committee in relation to the East Kent Joint Independent Remuneration Panel. I would like to invite Councillor Alan Baldock to propose the recommendations in item 6A in the agenda and Councillor Steph Jupe to second them. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm actually very pleased to second the recommendation from the Governance Committee, the 2nd of April 2025, minute 720, concerning East Kent Joint Independent Remuneration Panel and a request for Folkestone and Hythe District Council to join that panel. We're pleased to do that. I think it was a good meeting. We've reviewed that meeting and we made a few other minor changes to that panel as well, which was in the remit of that meeting. Very happy for this decision to be ratified by you tonight, and ask Steph to second that, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Thank you, Councillor Jupe. We need to go to a recorded vote.
And that's carried unanimously. Thank you.
I do. Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Just a small point. I believe Councillor Baldock seconded the motion when he was putting it forward. So just to make sure that that's corrected in the.
Thanks, Dan. Well spotted. Thanks. Appreciate it.
So the recommendation from Governance Committee, 2nd of April 2025, dismissal of statutory officers procedure. We have the recommendations from the Governance Committee in relation to the dismissal of statutory officers procedure. I would like to invite Councillor Alan Baldock to propose the recommendations and Councillor Steph Jupe to second.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And this time I will remember to propose it, Dan. Thank you. So, to a recommendation from Governance Committee on 2nd of April 2025, minute 721, dismissal of statutory officers procedure. Again, thanks to the Governance Committee for giving this a serious airing and conversation. And I think it's a sound procedure we ended up with. And I hope, against all hopes, that I never, ever have to blow the dust off this part of our constitution ever again. So, Steph, can you second that for me, please?
This time I can. Seconded.
Thank you very much. Can we have a recorded vote, please, Pippa?
And that's carried unanimously as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And item 7, changes to membership of committees and subcommittees for the remainder of the council year. No? Oh, sorry. Recommend from Governance Committee, 2nd of April 2025, 772, updates to the Constitution. Next, we have the recommendations from the Governance Committee in relation to the Constitution updates. I would like to invite Councillor Anna Baldock to propose the recommendations in item 6C in the agenda and Councillor Steph Tupe to second.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I'm happy to do that. So I'm happy to propose the recommendation from the Governance Committee on the 2nd of April 2025, minute number 722, to update the Constitution. And I would also like to thank Matthew Archer and the team for a massive piece of work to tidy up all sorts of little loose ends out of our Constitution. It's a piece of work that's done every now and again. Thank you so much for that. And there's some interesting things, and you know, we now know what act the market works under and little tweaks and all sorts of things. And I appreciate that. And again, I would ask Steph to second that for me, and then we get that passed, please.
I can second that.
Thank you. So we'll go to a recorded vote. Oh, is somebody? Rachel Carnac, councillor.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we still have an issue on number 9, public participation at meetings in relation to planning committee. This was something that came up on the night and we weren't happy about. And it was mentioned that tonight at council we would discuss this. This is absolutely a fundamental part of people being able to take part in more than 2 meetings. I've had several planning applications where members of my ward and some of my parish councillors have needed to speak on multiple occasions. There was a big meeting last night in Hoath, public meeting about the forthcoming planned solar plant there, and I mentioned this to them, and they're absolutely outraged by it, because if a planning application like that does need to come several times to planning, they won't be able to send some of their representatives to speak on it again. And I think we need to look at this again, because we're actually reducing democratic participation of members of our wards, and particularly on parish councils who've already had their voices squeezed out over recent years. So I know that there might be the odd person that comes and speaks over and over again, and the planning committee has found that troublesome. Fair enough. But we shouldn't throw the baby out of the bathwater and penalise many of our residents, and particularly our parish councils, who may need to come over and over again defending their villages and their rights more than twice to a planning committee. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Carnac. You want to answer, Alan, or anybody?
Don't recall that we said we were going to debate it tonight. And I do remember the debate, which was full and you know, there's a lot of good points raised in that. I'm struggling a little bit to see that we can change that now in this particular vote. I am willing to continue to discuss that point, and I'm willing to consider changes if we need to. But I think at this point, I would prefer that we voted through what we have. I think one of the things that we did talk about was obviously the vexatious nature of some, the fact that the same person maybe can't talk, but you know, an organised campaign, I'm sure, would overcome many of those situations. And there was lots of things going on there, but we do understand that, and it is probably something that was brought in to stop the vexatiousness of some of these planning complaints and planning issues, which are, you know, justified in their own communities. So I think at this moment in time, I'll be content that we vote on what we have. I will certainly put together a couple of people to work with a small group. Would be not a bad idea, maybe, to discuss that informally to start with, and see whether we can bring forward a change that may or may not be more appropriate, and run that through the planning committee as well and see what they feel. Obviously welcome any comments, and the chair of planning or whatever they want to as well. Thanks.
I have councillor Ian Stockwell.
Stockley. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yeah, I do recall this. I'm fairly sure that we didn't reach a conclusion fully on this. I believe Councillor Baldock's point about, for instance, a group being able to overcome this. In fact, the rules apply to the group. So if it's a parish council, it's only twice that parish council can speak, regardless of how many members they've got or whatever. So I'm not happy with this. I wasn't happy on the night. And to be honest, I'm uncomfortable retrofitting something. If it's not right, it shouldn't go, in my view. Thank you.
Councillor Dan Watkins.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Rumours of my death are greatly exaggerated. So I'm pleased to be here live and kicking this evening. But on a more serious note, I too agree with my colleagues. I think it's really important to get the community voice into the planning committees. Absolutely understood. Occasionally, you'll get a very difficult a comment coming through. You mentioned it being vexatious, but we shouldn't try and throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I suppose I'm looking for a reassurance from the leader, and maybe needs to talk to Matthew. Just, if this was to go through this evening, if we were all to support it, does that kind of time out a certain length of period until which we can come back and talk about bringing in the public's ability to speak again? We don't want to make a change this evening, which is going to be in place for many months, given that I think it is quite contentious. And I suspect actually probably a lot of people here hadn't kind of considered this before, and therefore there might be some consensus that we very quickly try and get another group together, as you said, Leader, and revisit this. Thank you.
Councillor Pip Hazelton.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yeah, having read the papers, I can't find a minute that mentions this at all. So I'm quite troubled by it, because I would have relied, as I do generally, on the minutes of the meetings that obviously I'm not part of, and I don't see a minute that relates to it. So I may be wrong, and I'd like to be pointed to it, but if there isn't a minute on which people can rely in terms of voting this evening, I would be happier for it to be withdrawn for this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Hazelton. Matthew, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, just for the benefit of those who may not have followed the debate, this is where a planning committee at the moment, an individual can speak twice, either at 2 meetings or at a meeting and a site visit. And you might recall that a few months ago, we considered, following a court ruling, whether when we're registering individuals to speak, whether we should also allow that slot, one of the 3 for and the 3 against, whether that should also be allowed for groups as well as individuals. And it was clarified through the court proceedings that it should apply to both. So we put that into our rules. So the bit that then didn't follow through until we put this in is that it wasn't clear then whether the restriction on speaking twice applied to groups as well as to individuals. And so for consistency, because we were silent on it and the query had come up, does this also apply to groups as well as individuals? We put a sentence in to say, yes, it does, so that there is no doubt. So if we don't agree with this, if we don't agree this tonight, we will still have that ambiguity of not being crystal clear that the ability to speak twice applies to both groups and individuals. So that was the reason for putting it in and trying to carry this through tonight. You may have picked up from the news as well that there's been a recent court ruling about the councillors having to attend all the meetings when they are hearing a particular planning application through a committee process. And I was contemplating putting a report together to cover that point, again, to make sure that we are clear in our own constitution about that. So we could revisit this point when we do that. I would say it's unusual for applications to come back to committee more than twice anyway. It happened on this one occasion. I think that's possibly one of the very few occasions I can recall in the last 3 to 4 years. However, we've got a number of big applications coming through that have been held up by Stobmarsh. So this is possible that it may arise more in the coming 12 to 18 months. In terms of finding a way through, we could defer and come back to this. It means that we are, in that slightly ambiguous position. However, I doubt it will be an issue that we have to face in the next 2 to 3 months in any event. So if we try and sort this out pretty quickly, then hopefully we can resolve it. So perhaps the best position tonight would be to defer that particular recommendation and bring it back. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Matthew. I've got Steph Jute that wants to speak, and then Pat Edwards. No? Okay. Steph?
I was at governance. It was a long, quite drawn out meeting. There was a lot going on. But what I wanted to say was mainly what Matthew said, but much less eloquently, that it was just a line to sort of qualify the position on that because of one incident that had happened. More than happy to defer that if everyone's not happy about it, though. That was it.
Councillor Mike Soul?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As there is some disquiet in the room over this, I wonder if it might be possible for this one item just to be deferred to the next Cabinet meeting, and Cabinet can discuss it and be briefed on it, and of course anyone can come along and have their input into that at the Cabinet meeting, as a suggestion.
I've got Councillor Edwards that speaks and Councillor Harvey. So Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Matthew said more or less what I was going to say, but now I've just thought that maybe it would be a good point to make to say that there are quite a number of people affected by this, because we've certainly got at least 2 site visits in the pipeline now. We've had at least 2 site visits recently where members of family have come along because the person who's affected feels they can't come along to the site visit in case they say something because they're upset about it. So, but I didn't know that the clarification wasn't acceptable to people, so I hadn't followed the detail. I did find the minutes, but I don't think it's clear enough. So I am satisfied with the solution that Matthew Archer's put forward, but it is there are quite a number of cases where this is affected, and I do think that the issue about groups needs to be considered very carefully. I mean, people have got round this by individual members of that group applying for individual slots, but then of course that means that other individuals lose their chance to be in those slots. So, and I completely concur with the fact that I think we're likely to have a number more site visits coming up for a couple, 1 or 2 large applications. Not necessarily, I'm not predicting the future, but, it's possible. But certainly several in the last couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. I've got Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yeah, I was just going to clarify this really from what Matthew said, that we're not actually restricting the public's right to speak because that restriction is already there for the twice. So all we're doing is restricting the group's right to speak. So it's actually a bigger change to the rules, isn't it, to allow anybody to speak more than twice. My opinion really is if it's a contentious one, then there's normally several people who will take that place anyway, or several groups, and it very rarely comes up. But I agree with deferring it and changing to a different wording for it. Thank you.
Councillor Alistair Brady.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I was at the committee, and I think the concern centred on the fact that there might be new material when this is brought back to the committee, and if somebody's spoken already, they can't introduce that new material again because they've spoken already. So that's what the concern was, and I thought this was going to be rethought and looked at different wording. I'm hearing that it hasn't, so I agree with deferring, but that was where the concern was. If somebody speaks originally and then it comes back a second time, there's new material, that person then can't speak on that new material, which I think is fundamentally wrong.
Councillor Brady.
Well, don't worry, Lord Mayor. It's all right. You
Yeah.
can. I know you're just charmed by my handsome good looks. Looking at
That's
the
all
chamber.
Very
Can I,
much
Lord
so.
Mayor, can I just? I don't know if this is acceptable. Can I just ask? Can we just propose to accept with an amendment to remove bullet point 9 and then agree everything else, and send bullet point 9 back to governance for a later date for review? Is that to solve the problem? If I propose that and someone seconds it.
I'll ask Matthew. Yeah.
Sorry, no, just because we all agree, I think most people in the room are quite in agreement that parish councils shouldn't be limited. No one disagrees with Councillor Carnac, which is rare for me to say.
I need
know.
to make sure that people know what they're voting on. So I need to make sure that people know what they're voting on. And Matthew will explain that we vote on something and then defer something else. So bear with me. Matthew?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, so you'll be able to make a proposal to and second items 1 to 8, and then take a second vote on item 9, which somebody can move to defer. And if somebody's happy to second that, and you will vote in favour, we'll bring it back at a later date. Can I just pick up on Councillor Sol's point as well? This is because this is a council function and it's part of governance committee, it would be a matter to refer back to governance committee for them to consider. Thank you.
Councillor Carnac?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll move to defer number 9, item 9, then until the next governance meeting when we can look at it again. Thank you. Is there a second?
There's a second. Second? Are you seconding?
I am, Lord Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So are we all clear what we're voting on? 1 till 8, and then defer number 9, which will be a separate vote. Yeah, 1 to 8 to start with, and then we'll have another vote to defer that. So Governance Committee, we're voting on 1 till 8. Please, is a recorded vote, Pippa? Oh.
One to 8 is carried unanimously.
Now we vote on 1 till 8. No,
Not 1 to 8.
just number 9 now. Yeah, I wondered why I hadn't voted. So,
And item 9 is carried unanimously too.
okay. Okay. So there's a point of clarification just been asked, so Matthew will do that.
Sorry, so just to clarify, we will organise a meeting of the Governance Committee to consider a new report, which we will try and do in quick time, and then that recommendation will be brought back here to Council for final decision. Thank you.
All acceptable? Yeah, thank you, thank you. So changes to membership of committees and subcommittees the remainder of the council year. Can I ask councillors to note the changes to memberships of committees and subcommittees? Yep, all noted. So we have 4 questions. There's an overall time limit of 30 minutes for all councillor questions. Each questioner will have 1 minute to put their question and 3 minutes allowed for the response. Each questioner will also be allowed to ask 1 supplementary question, which the responder to the original question may answer. No other contribution is allowed. So can I invite Councillor Heaver to put their first question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you very much for your words of welcome earlier this evening. Recent reports show that there were 6,300 untreated sewage discharges across Kent last year, 17 per day. Given the obvious threat to our public health, marine environment and coastal economy, this council must take action to tackle this. In the meantime, when will they implement a viable year-round water quality testing system and install information boards at popular bathing locations advising water users whether it's safe for them and their families to enter the water? Thank you.
Can I invite Councillor Charlotte Cornell on behalf of Councillor Chris Cornell, the Cabinet Member for Economic Development and Inclusion, Coastal Towns Champion, to make the response. Thank you, Councillor Charlotte Cornell.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor, and may I reiterate welcome to Councillor Heaver, to the Chamber, and glad to see you've got 2 questions tonight. So it's always nice to have an eager new student in the classroom. And all the other students in the classroom are eagerly waiting to see the quality of the new students' input. And equally, I hope you'll be as eager to hear what the Teachers' Mark scheme really is. So this administration is committed to doing all it can to improve the quality of the water and ensure the safety of public bathing. However, it is worth reminding my new colleague that whilst it is easy to say on a political leaflet, the council is neither Southern Water, which is responsible for dealing with sewage, nor are we the Environment Agency with enforcement powers. To suggest we are either and have the powers of either is unfair to our residents and misleading. We do, however, use our powers of persuasion, and we work and lobby with both agencies to improve the water quality along our coastline. We cannot solve the problem on our own. Now, on the specific question of water testing, it's important to understand the complexity of the science here. And we need to openly discuss the cost-benefit of testing. It's easy, really easy, to be photographed in the water, in your waders, with a home science kit bought off Amazon. But providing false or misleading information erodes public confidence. It risks our blue flag beach status and has a highly detrimental impact on our fishing industry. Sometimes waving the flag for false or risky or erroneous data can ruin our residents' ability to support their families. I do urge my new colleague to be very careful about what he tells people we have the authority and expertise to deliver. Presently, the Environment Agency carry out weekly testing at 4 bathing sites between the 15th of May and the 30th of September. We are open and transparent about the state of our seas, and the result of these tests are on our website and at popular bathing locations across the coastline. There are, as I'm sure my colleague knows, a number of specific variables, including tidal patterns, the location of roosting seagull colonies, dog feces on the beach. It's one of the reasons we ban dogs at the same time as we undertake testing on some of our beaches, and the density of algae and aquatic vegetation, and all these influence water testing. For this reason, the Environment Agency are really careful to establish its own robust method for collection, and they actively avoid presenting third-party data, including that collected by ourselves and by citizen science. The kind of on-the-day sampling to which my new colleague refers isn't available to the council right now. The science isn't there. The Environment Agency tests the water during the bathing season, and we post onto the Swim Info platform approximately 5 to 7 days after testing takes place. When the council does commission tests, we don't have these for about a week.
Councillor Cornell, you've gone over.
Thank you.
your time limit. Sorry.
Legally, we're not in a position to test and suggest that water is safe. As I reiterate to my colleague, we are neither the Environment Agency nor Southern Water. So if he'd like to be more specific about the kind of testing he would like to see implemented, I can be more specific about the cost benefit to the residents and to the council of doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cornell. Would you like a supplementary question, Councillor Heaver?
Yes, a brief one, if that's all right, Lord Mayor. Thank you. Thank you very much for that response. Would the council be willing to finance some blackboards, and then perhaps I could go down with some chalk and put in at least when the last sewage discharge was, as advertised on Southern Water's site? And also, would they please encourage Southern Water to provide the essential agents so that SOS Whitstable can at least attempt to continue with the voluntary system, because there's been no water testing of any sort since October 2024, and that's a very serious public health record. So sorry, I should keep the questions. Could we finance some blackboards, and could we please get the agent out of Southern Water? Thanks.
Thank you. I don't think it was brief. Anyhow,
I'm very sorry, I'm too eager with teachers, sorry.
Councillor Cornell, do you want to come back, please?
I'll discuss the blackboards and the legality around how we can advertise the data that we do and don't collect, because as I said, we're not legally in a position to publish, to suggest that water is safe. We cannot do that. Equally, the agents and the Fluidian machine, which was provided by Southern Water, is currently suspended. And this is because there were real concerns about the calibration of the machine. And whilst the council supported the lab testing and using the Fluidian readings, there were a huge variance in the results collected. For example, the Citizen Science project in the week of 15th of May 2024, the Citizen Science showed an E. coli concentration of 180 per 100 milliliter, but sent off laboratory testing for the same sample showed 20. We have to be really, really careful about the data we give our residents. We cannot... the science we publish, we hold great responsibility for. Of course, to make sure that sea bathing is safe, but also to check that our local residents, our economy, their very ability to earn a livelihood, our fishing industry is allowed to thrive and not penalised for poor or faulty science. We need to make sure we're striking the right and scientific and correct data note. So Southern Water have suspended that project because they don't believe the science is sufficient.
Thank you, Councillor Cornell. Can I invite Councillor Heaver for his second question? Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and my apologies for exceeding the single question in my enthusiasm and eagerness. I'll be corrected next time. And I hope I don't overstay my welcome on my first appearance. But given this council's apparent enthusiasm for addressing the housing crisis with large-scale developments on greenfield sites, can they please confirm how many of the 2,500 plus people on Canterbury's housing register will be accommodated at the 400-home Whitstable Heights development, which is now nearing completion? Thank you.
Invite Councillor Hazelton to respond.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And can I also welcome you to the council, Councillor Heaver Stewart. So thank you for showing an interest in our district's housing. It makes a welcome change to have a question from your group that isn't about 4x4s or plastic cups. Before I answer your question, I'd like to remind you, as well as the rest of our council, that this administration has put decent, affordable, local housing for local people at the heart of our corporate plan, Greener, Fairer, Better, Stronger. It's on our website and I recommend it as a good read. We desperately need more homes, and in particular in Whitstable, we need homes that are occupied year-round by people whose housing needs can be met at the same time as contributing to their community. And we need fewer part-timers and second homers. So it's in this context I'm pleased to let you know that according to recent data from KCOT, an umbrella body of local primary schools, 80% of housing sales at the moment are local people moving internally, not the DFL or outsider issue that the Green Party, along with others, like sometimes to characterise. A final general point. The Housing Needs Register in Canterbury stood on the 4th of April at 1,356 households, down from 2,961 in December 21, a testament to our commitment to knowing our communities, cleaning up data and meeting need. On to the detail of Whitstable Heights. Planning permission was granted for 400 homes there. The Section 106 agreement was for Hyde to provide 30%, 120, affordable homes, 84 for affordable rent, and the remainder is shared ownership. The council has nomination rights for the affordable rented homes, which mean they are dedicated to people on our Housing Needs Register. In addition, the developer obtained a government grant to increase the number of affordable homes on site. We understand around 324 affordable homes will be provided in total by Hyde, of which 142 will be affordable rent. Whitstable Heights has made a significant contribution to the supply of affordable housing in the district, which has to be great news. To date, a total of 120 households from the Canterbury Housing Needs Register have been given new homes at the development. All these in addition to the 98 homes the council itself has acquired since we took office 2 years ago, and with more planned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hazelton. Would you like a supplementary question, please, Councillor Heaver?
I think I'll retire gracefully at that point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Heaver. Can I invite Councillor Ian Stockley to put his first question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I fear I may be able to break Councillor Heaver's record for the number of questions in one question. Okay. Is the leader happy with the time the move to the new office is taking? Can he explain the full move, why the full move is yet not complete? And can he reassure the people working for CCC that a new permanent workspace will be available in the future? And also, is he able to give a commitment for a date for the move? Thank you.
That's 3 questions in one. Okay. So can I invite Councillor Dixie as Cabinet Member of Property and Performance to make a response?
Thanks, Ian, for your question. You seem to be making a habit of asking me questions at full council, but this will be the last one. And no, I'm not happy at all with the time it is taking. And we are very sorry for the impact which it's having on staff. We're doing all we can to support our staff during this difficult period. And they have been able to use desks at Rose Lane, Tower House, and buildings on the Whitefriars Estate, Spring Lane, and on Whitstable Harbour. The contractor, Beauville, is Beauville, and the actual contract is with Whitefriars, who, of course, are managed for us by New Rivers, I'm sure you know. So we do not have direct control over the works. This is because it's a design and build contract, which I remind you, Ian, was negotiated under the previous Conservative-run administration. Well, our offices and New River are pushing like crazy to get the contractors to complete the project as soon as possible. But I cannot promise a direct date, but it is getting much closer. However, you'll be pleased to learn that the construction element of the contract is on budget. And you will have all received today an invitation to visit the new council offices at St George's Street next Tuesday afternoon. So I hope we'll see you there. Over to you.
Thank you. Would you like to have a supplementary, Councillor Stockley?
Only to say that unfortunately I won't be able to join you on Tuesday, but I look forward to the move.
there will be other visits on top of that, but that won't be the only one.
Thank you.
So I look forward.
Do you want to come back on anything, Councillor Dixie? No, thank you. And so can I invite Councillor Carnac to put her first question?
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. Given the biodiversity emergency that this council declared in October 2023 and our determination to have minimum 20% biodiversity net gain in our new local plan, are you happy that as a local planning authority, we are monitoring mandatory BNG in the most efficient way and that is reflecting correctly our ambitions to protect and enhance nature in our district? Thank you.
Can I ask Councillor Dawkins, please?
That's the one. Yeah, thank you, Rachel Carnett. Very, very important question. Just a bit of background. The National Planning Policy Framework places an obligation on developers to provide 10% biodiversity net gain on development sites where the application for the original permission was made before the 12th of February 2024. Once planning permission has been granted, unless exempt, a biodiversity gain plan must be submitted and approved prior to the commencement of that development. The plan will set out how the developer will monitor the biodiversity gain site over the required 30 years, including a schedule of what actions they will take if the habitat enhancement does not go as planned. The delivery of biodiversity net gain is recorded and monitored through the Authority Monitoring Report, and the Council is required to publish this each year. The LDS is published on the Council's website, and progress is reported annually through the Authority Monitoring Report. The Council is legally required to adopt and keep up to date its LDS under Section 15 of the Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act 2004. The Council, as a local planning authority, is committed to monitoring the BNG outputs across planning applications as per the biodiversity duty placed on all local authorities. The first BNG reporting will be submitted in January 2026. So to answer your question, I'm satisfied we are monitoring the mandatory BNG in the most efficient way, and that it's reflecting currently our ambitions to protect and enhance nature in our district. You can see the reports on the local development scheme, which is the LDS, if you didn't know what that was, which is the plan for the district. Outside of the mandatory monitoring, I'll just add a little bit more. We also, as you know, we also have the local nature strategy coming out soon, which is part of the bigger Making Space for Nature for the whole of Kent. And then also the planning subcommittee is currently monitoring the delivery of strategic development sites. So the delivery of BNG on those sites would fall within that remit. So I'm not sure if you're on the planning sub, but maybe one of your members is, and that would be the opportunity to sort of interrogate that. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Councillor Dawkins. Would you like a supplementary?
Yes,
Councillor Carnot?
yes, I just wanted to ask something. Thank you, Councillor Dawkins. And let's hope the Making Space for Nature survives the coming few months, as I have grave concerns about it. But anyway, let's see. Fingers crossed. What I wanted to ask you is that there are some local planning authorities manage their ecology and BNG using some of the tailor-made programmes, and I know that a lot of local councils use Mycelia, although there are other brands available. And I do wonder, I would ask you if maybe we could run a trial of that and just match the readings we get on that against what we're getting, because I think it would be interesting to benchmark that and just make sure that we are getting the maximum and that maybe we could do better. So I would just ask if that's something you would bring up and have a look at. Thank you very much.
Come back.
Certainly, yes. So if you can email me that, and I know it's something that we've discussed before in the scrutiny committee and also in our biodiversity group. Measuring nature and how it's improved is quite a difficult task. You know, it's like, ooh. You know, there's quite a lot to it. You can't just go outside and say, oh, there's a couple more bees out today. You know, there's quite a lot to it. So yeah, so there's lots and lots of new tech and all sorts of things coming out. So yeah, happy to explore that. So yeah, if you can email me and we can bring it up in the next group as well.
Thank you, Councillor Dawkins. That's the finish of the questions. So we go on to number 9. Notice of motions. There are no notices of motions this meeting. So number 10, review of ward boundaries for Canterbury City Council 2024. And can I invite Peter Davies, Joint Chief Executive, to introduce the report? Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I know we've had some strange reports and some strange voting and bits and pieces going on tonight. This report follows that vein. The report before you is the outcomes of the Local Boundary Commission for England review of our ward boundaries, which I know everybody in the room paid a lot of attention to and commented on and worked with the Boundary Commission on with gusto for the changes which will come into effect for the next local elections for the district in 2027. The final position was laid before Parliament in February and now would come into effect for said elections in 2027, should they go ahead. The reports to note, should we get those elections in 2027, the hard work you all put in, both as a council and as groups, will take effect as per the map and the report in the agenda.
Thank you, Peter. Are there any comments or questions from councillors? I think there's a sigh of relief from Matthew there. So, item 11, council minutes. I'd like to invite the leader to propose and the deputy leader to second approval of the minutes of the full council meetings of the 24th of February and the 17th of March. Please, Councillor Baldock.
Lord Mayor, I submit for receipt and adoption the minutes of the council committee or the council on the 24th of February 2025. Pages 17 to 28 in your agenda, and on the 17th of March 2025, page 29. So those are for your receipt and adoption.
Seconder, please.
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sol. Recorded vote required? Recorded vote? Recorded? Recorded. No hands up.
That was agreed unanimously.
Thank you, Pippa. So number 12, report back on notices of motions. Councillors are invited to note the report and actions outlined from Cabinet on the 24th of March 2025 in response to the motion to full council on the 25th of April 2024. Councillor Hazelton.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I know this is simply to note, and I don't want to hold up the meeting unduly, but because there are new members of the council here, and also it was a notice of motion back in April 24. So I just wanted to remind people that the motion was raised by Councillors Keji Moses and Naomi Smith, who I thank for raising this matter, and to the officers for their report. And I just want to say that the pilot project was funded through the Household Support Fund, and an external evaluation of the impact and success or otherwise of the flooring that's been provided by referral has been agreed. And I think it's a great example of how councillors, noticing an issue, have brought it forward, Cabinet have seen merit in it, officers have worked on it, a pilot's been undertaken, there was huge uptake, in fact oversubscribed, An evaluation is to take place, and we hope and expect new Household Support Fund money to be available again in the coming months, and that this scheme can run again. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hazelton. So item 13, there's nobody else? No. Can I invite Susie, the Joint Chief Exec, to speak, please?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The minutes of the meeting specified, these minutes will be dealt with in turn. The Lord Mayor will invite the relevant chair to propose the receipt and adoption of the minutes, and then ask for a seconder for the proposal. You are permitted to debate the minutes if you wish, but they cannot be amended. The only possible action, if there is disagreement on the accuracy of the minutes, is for them to be sent back to the relevant committee. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Susie. So we'll start off with Audit Committee, Wednesday, 12th of March 2025. Councillor Brady.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The most important committee. I move for receipt and adoption the minutes of the Audit Committee meeting dated 12th of March 2025. Do I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. General assent this time? Thank you very much. The Cabinet meeting on Monday the 17th of March. Councillor Baldock?
Yeah, Lord Mayor, I submit for receipt and adoption the minutes of the Cabinet meeting on the 17th of March 2025, pages 34 to 36. And in addition, the Cabinet meeting on Monday the 24th of March 2025, pages 37 to 41.
Seconded.
Thank you very much. General assent? Thank you. The Companies Advisory Committee, Councillor Buckman.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I submit for receipt and adoption the minutes of the Companies Advisory Committee on the 13th of March 2025 on pages 42 to 45. Can I have a seconder, please?
I think that's me. Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jupe. General assent? Thank you very much. General Purposes Committee. This one? That was cancelled. So, Governance Committee, Wednesday the 2nd of April 2025, Councillor Baldock.
Lord Mayor, I submit for receipt and adoption the minutes of the Governance Committee on Wednesday the 2nd of April 2025, pages 46 to 55. And a seconder, please.
Always a seconder, never a first.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Jupe. General assent? Thank you very much. Licensing Subcommittee, 26th of February, Councillor Bland.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I move for receipt and adoption the minutes of the Licensing Subcommittee on Wednesday, the 26th of February 2025, pages 56 to 63. Do I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
So we've got somebody, Dan Smith wants to speak.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. I would just like to note on these minutes of this licensing subcommittee that you have recorded in attendance Councillor Smith, and it doesn't identify if it's Naomi or myself. So it would indeed be so, Naomi, but however, all the other minutes identify whether it's Dan Smith or Naomi Smith, and for clarity, I think it might be worth noting that this should have Naomi's name on it. It wasn't a virtual meeting.
Can we rectify that then, please? And the next three have been cancelled. So we go on to somebody wanting to speak? No? Did we have general assent? No. No, we do now. Thank you very much. Overview Committee, Councillor Prentice.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I move for receipt and adoption the minutes of the Overview Committee held on Thursday, the 27th of March 2025, pages 64 to 67. Do I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. General Assent? Thank you. Planning Committee, Tuesday, 4th of March, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I move for receipt and adoption the minutes of planning committees on Tuesday, the 4th of March and Wednesday, the 19th of March, pages 68 to 74. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you very much. And the next one was cancelled. General Assent, yep. Scrutiny Committee, Wednesday, 5th of March, Councillor Carnac.
I submit for receipt and adoption the minutes of the Scrutiny Committee on Wednesday, 5th March 25, pages 75 to 79.
Seconder. Thank you very much. General Assent. Thank you. Planning Subcommittee, Councillor Naomi Smith.
I move for receipt and adoption the minutes of the Planning Subcommittee, Thursday the 20th of March 2025, pages 80 to 83. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Seconder. Councillor Dan Smith. Thank you. General Assent.
Sorry, Peter. Councillor.
And we've got the Whitstable Harbour Board. Councillor Cornell can't be with us. Are you, Councillor Dixie?
Yeah, I'll move the minutes of the Whitstable Harbour Board on the 7th of March for approval and adoption. Do I have a seconder?
Who was there?
Sorry,
Councillor Mellish. Thank you. General Assent? Thank you very, very much. Item 14, to receive any notices of urgent decisions made by the Joint Chiefs Executives or Directors under delegation. No. Thank you. Councillor Watkins.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Sorry, yeah, I had my hand up right at the end of 13 there. And just for completeness, should Joint Transportation Board not be in that list? And, you know, me and Alex might be missing out if that was the case. But there was one on, I think it was Tuesday the 17th, or was it 18th of March? Just for completeness, I mentioned that. Yes, yeah, everyone remembers the annual parking review. You've never looked at more maps in your life.
I will ask Matthew.
So I think because they're not wholly city council, so they're not part of our minutes set in that sense. They don't come here for approval or for receipt and adoption.
I think that belongs to KCC now. Thank you. So I have got no other urgent business. So thank you all for coming. And this meeting is now closed.